Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened over the last 24 hours. Bad situation in the north. Russian African corps in Ukraine. Putin fired Minister of Defense. Rocket debris found in Belgorod. New records for Russian casualties. Russian bombing peaked. Secret base hit in Crimea, commander killed. SSU prevented 4 terrorist attacks in Kyiv. Russian headquarters and ammunition depot hit. The situation in the Kharkiv region near the northern border of Ukraine is very tense. According to various sources, Russians managed to occupy up to 10 villages that are located in the front of first Ukrainian line of defense. Before this, we heard many times about the inspections and quality control of defense structures. Now our soldiers are showing high-quality new dugouts and trenches in that area, but for some reason they could not be built closer to the border. I'm no expert in engineering, but I'm guessing this is due to constant shelling and very active bombing by Russian aircrafts. There was an interesting suggestion as to why Russians even managed to gather a certain number of troops at the border and we did not strike them at the stage of accumulation. I heard the theory that there is so-called silent policy of the West, which consists of limiting the use of transfer weapons for attacks on Russian territory. So far this is at the level of conspiracy theory, and we know that Great Britain has given the carte blanche to use their weapons however we want. Overall, it's very difficult to imagine how such a ban could exist. It's like boxing with one arm tied behind your back when your opponent has all the possible types of long-range weapons. According to the latest information from our general staff, the situation is difficult but under control. The enemy's advance has been stopped and we are counter-attacking. Fingers crossed. The Deep State Service has designated one of the formations of Russian troops that are attacking our northern border as the African Corps. The press said that initially these were mercenaries who were supposed to go to Africa to replace the Wagners, but apparently did not get there. There are two theories. First, Russians who signed a contract for a trip to Africa were deceived and thrown into Ukraine. The second, the Russian army has a shortage of combat-ready units, which in the third year of this inhuman war are ready to march forward to meet our machine guns. Putin fired Shoigu. Wow! Putin fired Patrushev. Wow! Shoigu is the only minister who has been in the Russian government for almost 30 years. All the rest have either been removed from governing the country long ago or have died. Conspiracy theory. It is unknown who controls whom. Putin controls Shoigu or Shoigu controls Putin. This man is one of those who made the decision to start the war on the 24th of February. He's responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths and terrible destruction that he brought to our land. The environment is suffering, animals are dying, every living thing suffers from his actions. You know what's interesting? Shoigu's maternal relatives are Ukrainian, and Shoigu himself was baptized in a church in Ukraine at the age of 5. Just imagine what must be in the mind of a person who gives orders to level entire cities in Ukraine, where he might have played football as a kid. Now Shoigu will be the Secretary of Security of Council, and in his place Putin appointed another of his trusted henchmen, Belousov. This man is an economist and has influence on Russian economy. Apparently Putin wants to use him to control the enormous corruption in the army. Someone started counting money. On the good side, it's unclear what competence of a non-military person might have in the Russian Ministry of Defense. This is not Ukraine, where the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff are separate structures. In Russia, the Ministry of Defense directly controls the General Staff. Dictatorship style, you know. Let's see how this affects us in the long run. Patrushev, this man was Secretary of Security Council for 16 years and before that the Director of Federal Security Service for 9 years. He is living under numerous international sanctions. No civilized country wants to deal with him. For many years, he developed the conspiracy theory of the bloodthirsty West against friendly and fluffy Russia. He was caught quoting fakes multiple times. Fun fact, he has an order named after the Ukrainian commander Bogdan Khmelnytsky for his significant contribution to the development of cooperation between the Federal Security Service of Russian Federation and the Security Service of Ukraine in the fight against international terrorism, organized crime, and drug trafficking. We awarded him 23 years ago. This is an all-experienced counterintelligence officer. During his long career, he did a lot of harm to Ukraine. Without him, this war would not have happened. Let's see what he'll do now. It's unlikely that he plans to live a quiet life of an old man. On the ruins of the damaged house in Belgorod, which collapsed from the explosion yesterday, which I talked about in the previous video, fragments of the Russian S-300 or S-400 air defense system were found. This photo shows a man holding a fragment of an aerodynamic rudder from an anti-aircraft missile with the fuselage elements. And we have one more piece of news from the same region. Heavy Fab-500 air bomb fell in the Belgorod Republic. The reasons for its fall are still unknown. Local residents reported that this bomb fell to the ground and did not explode. Let me explain in simple words. For 2 days in a row, Russians dropped their bombs or their fragments on the territory of the Belgorod region. These bombs were intended for Ukrainian cities, but for various reasons they did not reach their targets. Please write a comment what could make the Russian population rebel against their criminal government if they are even okay with these bombs flying over their own homes. Yesterday, the armed forces of Ukraine had a very productive harvest. This morning, our general staff reported that yesterday Russia lost 1,740 soldiers as wounded and killed. This is an absolute record for one day as far as I remember. Just imagine this amount. 1,740 men from Russia could live a peaceful life, go to work, drink vodka, beat their wives, whatever they usually do. But instead, they decided to come to our land with weapons, and now they either rot in our soil or rot in their hospitals. In this graph, we see the curve of Russian losses since the 24th of February. Last week, the Ukrainian armed forces set a record. 1,730 invaders were included in the statistics as wounded and killed. In general, you see that the graph is going up, and we are destroying more and more occupiers despite all the difficulties with the ammo. Our defenders are titans. But at the same time, we remember what we pay for these statistics. We also have losses. We give away the best, motivated and patriotic people who defend their home, while Russians give away those who they don't even mind losing. Please keep supporting Ukraine. Help us to withstand this onslaught. Russian bombing of Ukraine is deadlier than ever, Wall Street Journal reports. The publication writes that Ukraine is now able to intercept much fewer Russian missiles than at the beginning of this war. The deterioration of Ukrainian air defenses comes as Russia intensifies drone and missile attacks and fires more ballistic missiles. Kyiv is also running out of ammunition for Patriot systems, which were its best defense against such attacks, the material says. Wall Street Journal journalists estimate that over the past 6 months, Ukraine has intercepted about 46% of Russian missiles compared to 73% in the previous 6 months. Last month, the interception rate dropped to 30% of missiles. The interception rate of Shahed drones, which are easier to shoot down, dropped by only 1% point over the past 6 months to 82%, the journalists note. It's also reported that over the past 6 months, Russia has launched approximately 45% more drones and missiles than in the previous 6 months period. That's why we constantly say that Ukraine needs more air defense. There has never been enough of it for such a large territory, but now Russia has the initiative. Please help us close the sky and save people's lives. This morning, the secret military air defense base of Russians situated on Mount Ipetri in the occupied Crimea was damaged, and the commander Alexander Kulakov was killed. Presumably, Storm Shadow missiles did their job well. If you follow the news, you have already seen how accurately and effectively they hit enemy targets on the territory of our Crimea. Previously, the headquarters of the entire Black Sea Fleet turned to dust in this way. It's a shame there's no video. Here's an old photo of this military glamping on Ipetri. The security service of Ukraine prevented 4 terrorist attacks that were supposed to occur on the 9th of May, a sacred date for Russians. As a result of a complex operation, Russian intelligence agents were arrested, who, on the instructions of their curator, planted explosive devices in 3 large stores and were supposed to blow up a car filled with explosives near a popular cafe in the center of Kyiv. Sounds like a script for a secret agent movie. I still can't believe this is all real. We have never had such a number of crimes as over the past 10 years when Russia started this dirty war. In this video, you can see the report that the terrorists filmed for the Russian intelligence service. Shown here are tea packages containing timed bombs. Everything is organized in such a way that during an explosion, the surrounding materials will quickly ignite and large fire will start. The timer is set to the time when the most people would visit the store. Somewhere in Russia, this man named Yuri Sizov is sitting in an office. He works as a senior specialist in the Special Operations Department of the Main Directorate of the General Staff of Russian Military Forces. He lives in Moscow at Horoshevskaya Highway 76B. He receives a salary from the Russian government to organize terrorist attacks in shopping centers and cafes. He is not looking for military goals. He is a terrorist who kills innocent people. In the modern world, it's not easy to hide your data, Yuri. After Russia capitulates, all these Yuris will be held accountable in international court. Why am I so sure about this? Firstly, international justice must prevail in order to preserve the normal world order for all these civilized countries. Secondly, war crimes have no statute of limitations, it's only a matter of time. This video was filmed in the occupied Ukrainian town of Sorokino, 130 kilometers from the front line. That's how the Russian headquarters and ammunition depot burned. The last time we attacked this place was in September last year. Such a good tradition. That's it for today. This was my report for the day number 810 of the Russian-Ukrainian war. It was a productive start of the week and I spent the whole day gathering, checking and writing this news for you. Hit like and subscribe and see you tomorrow.